this meeting to order. This is the Jinx Aquarium Authority. It's Thursday, February 16th, 2021. It's 5:02 p.m. Let's call roll, please.
OJ.
Here.
Bonds. Montgomery.
Here.
Kaylin.
Here.
Murray.
Here.
Rowe. Charlie.
I'm here. All right, first order of business, consideration and appropriate action relating to requests for approval of the consent agenda. Are there any questions or motions on the consent agenda?
No, I move to accept them.
Okay.
Second.
All right, thank you. Let's vote.
OJ.
Yes.
Montgomery.
Yes.
Kaylin.
Yes.
Murray.
Yes.
Charlie.
Yes, we'll pull item number 2 and move on to item 3. Request to approve loan agreement between the JPWA and JAA for $400,000 at a variable interest rate starting at 0.5% due March 1st, 2026 with monthly principal and interest payments starting April 1st, 2021. Mr. Sauceda, welcome.
Thank you. Chair, members of the authority. As you may remember, 2 years ago, we renewed our pledge loan agreement with Bank First to extend it for 2 years. For an additional 2 years, back then the principal was $700,000. We gave a $300,000 principal payment, so they refinanced $400,000. Over the past 2 years, we've only paid interest quarterly that amounts to about $15,000, and that renewal is now maturing in April. So the thought was, well, instead of paying Bank First the interest, could we do some inter-fund financing from some of our reserves? So currently in the JPWA, the industrial water cells, as you may recall, we charge 25% extra or on top of the cost to our industrial client, Green Country Energy. And that money is set aside as part of a bond covenant for the aquarium revenue bonds, that it is reserved for any coverage of operations deficit, debt payment, or retirement of the JAA's debt, if in the event that the JAA cannot meet its annual debt service, which thankfully hasn't happened. So the thought was, can we borrow $400,000 from this reserve to refinance this pledge loan? The recommendation is a 5-year note at a minimum of 0.5%, which currently is a little bit higher than the rate that those reserves are earning. So if we were to invest that money in the CD, we are looking at rates of 0.1 or 0.2%. So loaning the money to the JAA at, say, a 0.5% is a win for the JPWA. And it's also a win for the JAA because the current loan with Bank First is at 3.75%. So there would be a benefit from the reduction in the interest rate. And then finally, we would start making monthly principal payments and interest payments to finally tackle the remaining $400,000 of this pledge loan that has existed since 2007. It started out at 2.8 million, and over the years it has been whittled down to $400,000. The remaining pledges, I believe, from my memory, is from Nordam and the Siegfried family. However, Nordam declared bankruptcy a couple of years ago, so the likelihood of receiving any additional funds that they had pledged is unknown. So while we can continue to kick the can and just pay interest, I think it would be beneficial to just go ahead and try to pay off the debt over the next 5 years at a lower interest rate. The interest rate is variable. Every March, we will compare it to the interest rate that we could invest those funds. So the market rate on a 1-year CD, like I said, currently it's 0.1 or 0.2. If it goes higher, we could adjust that interest rate. So that's the recommendation at hand. It would save the JAA in the first year in interest expense about $13,000, and the JPWA would benefit from earning just a slightly higher interest rate than is currently on the market.
All right. Any questions about that?
Yeah, Robert, a question for you. Okay, so the interest rates reset every year. What's the process to reset it? Because, okay, right now, the way that it's set up, it's probably a little more than twice. And don't get me wrong, I like the idea. But right now, it's set up, it's about twice what you can get in the equivalent CD market. Is your intent in the future to stay a few tenths above that? Or are you going to try to make it twice whatever you're competing? You know, I'm just trying to get kind of a general idea.
Yeah, so I think the minimum, if next year, say next March, the interest rates at market are still at 0.2 or 0.3, it's the minimum is going to be 0.5. And once those CDs go, once the rate goes above 0.5, we would probably add another like 0.1 or 0.2. Probably we can, we're trying to be fair to both the JAA and the JPWA. We're not going to price gouge the JAA for the benefit of the JPWA, since it's kind of all the same entity in the global picture, but probably adding a 0.1 or 0.2.
Okay, I'm just trying to get a general idea because I didn't really have a guideline for it.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, I think the idea of this is wonderful because the JPWA has helped the aquarium a lot, and having this go further with the JAA and being able to get this at such a reduced rate, I mean, that is fantastic. I'm like with Keith, I like the idea of it. And the fact that you're saying, though, if next year a CD is paying a little more, then we can offset it through the JAA, through JPWA. So I think it's a great idea.
I think so too. All right. Any other questions on that?
I'll make a motion to approve if no one else has any comments.
Let me ask Robert one other question. So so we reset the rate every year, so then the payment probably then resets every year, right?
Right. So the payment, if the interest expense increases, then the amount that goes to principal, yeah, the overall payment would increase.
Okay. Okay. I just so you would treat it more like a floating loan kind of thing. Okay. I was just trying to, because you had an amortization table there, and so I was just going, okay, that's just based on the 0.5%.
Correct.
Okay.
Which would be the minimum interest rate on the loan.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to be clear on that. Thank you. That was the only other question I had.
Great questions. Thank you. Donna, did you make a second to Craig's motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I think we're ready to vote.
OJ,
Yes.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Kaylin,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Shirley.
Yes. Item 4, request to approve resolution number 75, a resolution amending the annual appropriations by $400,000 in account number 906115266, JAA Operating Fund Debt Service for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021 to budget for the payment of the pledge loan. And is there anything additional on that, Robert?
If you would like an explanation, this is pretty much just a budget formality. Since you approved asking the JPWA for borrowing that money, it's kind of giving the budget to actually pay off that loan.
Okay.
So the JPWA still has to approve this, correct?
And the city, yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and it's on the JPWA's agenda tonight, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that we've got it before us to pass everything tonight. Then we're not like doing something backwards.
Yes.
Yeah. Good point, Craig.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All right. Let's vote.
OJ,
Yes.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Kaylin,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Shirley.
Yes. All right. Moving on to the staff report. Kenny, I know you've had quite a week.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's been, we've had way worse. The flood was much worse, but we're not done yet. So cross our fingers. surprisingly, you know, going into this, we were really concerned about the temperature, much more so than the snow, especially as it relates to mechanical failures. Some of our crucial life support equipment is on the roof. It's they're chillers, and that's what keeps certain exhibits cold that require cold water, such as the octopus exhibit. And any kind of refrigerated unit does not do well in very low temperatures. So we protected them by wrapping them and the such, and that definitely helps. But some of the chillers were dropping out and having a really hard time keeping up. The main one was with the octopus. That was kind of the small scare at the time, and so we were floating ice buckets in his tank and putting backup chillers. We have portable chillers that are air cooled that we can run indoors to kind of get us by, and we have quite a few of those. So that's kind of what we were doing, and then we got a better fix on the roof that was able to keep the chillers warmer, and they are functioning quite well right now, actually. And so, and that was during last night, which is the coldest it's, you know, gonna get. So we're pretty confident about tonight as far as temperature, unless something breaks. We did have a water pipe break today in the break room of the wet lab, but it was not really a big deal. And we repaired it ourselves. And really outside of that, it's been, thank goodness, really uneventful. The worst part actually was leading up to this weather event. We were having some power outages on the north end of the complex, the shark quarantine and the wet lab specifically. The first day that we had them, this is like a couple days prior to this, to the storm rolling in. There was ice on the lines and they were arcing, and we got 2 power outages one day. The second one was late at night. One of the generators failed to activate because it was a brownout, and it's an older generator that isn't sophisticated enough to detect a brownout versus a power outage. So it thought we still had power, but we worked around that and got it going. No problems there. But and then the next day we had another one. So 3 in all, and that's what really exhausted our staff. It was just nonstop with these power, you know, and so we were going into the storm already beat, and that was the biggest hurdle, really. We're actually much more well rested than we were a few days ago, and that's basically it. Cross our fingers, you know, we're not past the finish line yet. So, but it's the cold that we were really concerned with, and luckily it's going to be warmer every day from here on out. Does anybody have any questions with that particular topic?
Yeah, if I could, Kenny, I don't know, maybe a case for Chris, and I'm not sure, is the plumbing stuff, is that something that a licensed plumber is supposed to have to handle, or since it's not a residence? I mean, I don't know. Is that, I know you guys are fixing a lot of stuff. It saves a lot of money for the aquarium and the city, but I didn't know if that's something that in the long run, we're going to have somebody come in professional do it. I know with the chillers or the HVAC units, those have to have professionals, I guess. I don't know. Just throwing it out.
Yeah, I mean, technically, the any municipal pipes and that type of thing needs to have a plumber. But this, in an emergency situation, we were trying to get plumbing companies come out here, but they're so swamped that we just couldn't wait. And this is a PVC pipe, Schedule 40 PVC pipe, which is what we work with on a daily basis. The entire shark, I mean, the whole aquarium, all the filtration, that's what it's plumbed with. So we're pretty familiar with it. We can have a licensed plumber when this calms down come out and check out the job. It's one splice. It's literally one fitting glued together. But but yeah, technically we should have a plumber come and check it out.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, and I know, like I said, you guys do a lot of the work. It saves a lot of money, but I just didn't know if that's something that has to be done eventually. But yeah, I can see right now there's no reason to bring them out, especially if they're not able to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good, thank you.
Do we need to think about relocating the equipment that's on the roof, or do you feel like the workaround that you came up with is adequate for when situations like this arise?
Well, really the only way to relocate it is to put it indoors and have an exhaust system to vent the heat from the condensing unit. And it would take up a lot of space, and it would be, at this point, very, very expensive. We're thinking of some other fixes, such as a heat exchanger that is exposed to the air. That water can be diverted instead of going through the chiller, can be diverted through this exposed heat exchanger that's exposed to the air on the roof. And with the air temperature being that cold, for it to be cold enough to knock out the chiller, it's going to be cold enough to chill the water through that heat exchanger, if that makes any sense. To where if we size it proportionately, in sub-freezing conditions or sub-zero conditions, theoretically, we could just turn the chillers off and divert water through literally a heat exchanger that's just, the colder the better, So we're going to think about that. That would probably be, and we would discuss this with a refrigerant company, and that would be designed by them if it can be done. It's a little unorthodox, but we're going to explore some various fixes, and even possibly, if there's some kind of structure, even if it's lightweight or something we can put up in an emergency around them. I don't really know, but we definitely are going to explore this for the future.
Okay, sounds like a smart solution you're coming up with there.
Yeah.
And then generators, do you have? Can we help you get more of that kind of thing that you need?
Well, yeah. So the generators, we have 3 generators. One is on the main aquarium that was part of the original construction. That generator, though it is getting old, it has quite a bit of life left to it, and it rarely lets us down, and it worked just fine. The only problem with that generator is it's maxed out, so any further expansion from here on out, it would not be able to handle. But pertaining to what we're going through right now, it's working properly. The only other problem with that is that the generator for the main building does not operate the HVAC, so it does not operate heating and cooling for the air conditioning or heating. So if we do lose power, we will not have heating in the building, and that was something that just wasn't able to be afforded at the time. So several years ago, I purchased some very large kerosene salamander heaters. They basically look like a jet engine on wheels, and we have quite a few of them, and some large ones, bigger than your desk, and they are enough to heat the facility, the shark exhibit, and the shark quarantine. And then they do operate on kerosene, so we did install a kerosene pumping station on the aquarium grounds. That is, it's a large steel vessel with a pumping capacity and to fill this kerosene heaters. So that's kind of what we planned ahead on with that. The wet lab generator is new, and that came along with the new with the remodel of that wet lab that used to be the education building. That generator, again, it operated flawlessly, and it is a diesel generator. All the generators are diesel, and that generator is sized to handle the whole building, including heating and air. So that particular building is our least problematic because we really don't even feel it when the power goes down. It can detect whether it's a brownout or a power outage, and it chooses, you know, it will switch itself on automatically, and it's pretty seamless. And like I said, it'll run the heating and chilling, or the heating and cooling of the building. And then finally, the Shark Quarantine, which is our old rusty battleship, that building and everything on it has been piecemealed, and it is fraught with problems. Everything from the building rusting to the HVAC being old, and then the HVAC is on a we have the geothermal that was built in later to make it more efficient, but it is very unreliable, and parts are scarce and technicians are scarce. And so we did have one unit go down on the Shark quarantine due to the fact that pertaining to the geothermal, and we still have not been able to get it up. The technicians are working. We're waiting on parts. However, we still have enough of the other units that are keeping it warm. And then the generator on it is an old military surplus generator. And the transfer system on that is not super sophisticated. So it wasn't able, it missed the brownout the first time, caught it the second time. Why? I have no idea. But, and that generator is really undersized. It's just enough for crucial filtration. It will not even touch the heating and air. The one saving grace is we do have a separate heater, gas heater, natural gas heater in there that hangs from the roof, hanging from whatever piece of steel isn't rusted to death. And it operates on 110 power. It just operates on a fan. The rest is all just natural gas, and that is on the backup power. And then we do have the kerosene heaters for it. So one of our big concerns on that building leading up to this storm was the roof handling, you know, the possibility of 21 inches of snow, which thank God didn't happen, because the building's old, and you know, when you have an old building, you don't want a lot of weight on the roof. So, but none of that happened tonight. Hopefully, you know, we've had it hold 6 inches easily of snow, so we don't anticipate any problems tonight unless the forecast is way off. So that's kind of where we're at with the facility. We're gonna try to open Friday for sure, unless, you know, that's kind of our goal, is to open Friday, and definitely for the weekend. The city's been great about plowing our parking lots and our circle drive, and the staff has been amazing. We have 8 staff members next door at the hotel, and they're operating on 2-hour shifts. You know, they're constantly doing walkthroughs, and then every 2 hours another group will come and relieve them. So that allows me to sleep at night. And then I've been bringing them food and everything and snacks. And I don't know, but I was bragging on my Jeep when I got it like a year or two ago, and I'm going to brag on it some more tonight, because that thing has been like a tank. It's been great. And the heater is like a blowtorch, so that's great. The blower on the heater did start going out last night, and so it sounded like I had a bunch of canaries in my dashboard. So, but I have a great mechanic there, and last night I called him. He got a blower, and he called me first thing this morning and said, "Oh, come on down." And so he replaced it at 8 o'clock sharp, and took him 30 minutes, and I'm back on the road, so we're good to go. And after this, I'm gonna go get pizzas for the guys, and then have a meeting, and then hopefully go home. So
I hope so too.
Yeah.
Well, we can't thank you and your
Kenny,
team enough. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Kenny, how
Thank you,
expensive are those generators that, you know, that you said that that don't have any problems, have no glitches? I mean, what's the cost of those generators?
Vice Mayor, I'd really have to do some research, because it depends on the size, and I really don't know what size we would need for that facility. We really don't need to replace the main generator for the building. I'm assuming that would be a few $100,000, but I'm just throwing that out there. But that generator still has a lot of life in it. And then of course the new generator. And then, so for the Shark building, I really would hate to just throw numbers out because I don't know, but it'd be based on the size. If I was to guess, and Robert, you might know better than me, but if I was to guess, somewhere around 70,000 or so, maybe more installed, maybe closer to 100. I really don't know, but I can get you that number.
Yeah, I think we ought to look at it. I mean, just let's price it out, and then see what we also need to do about the building. And because if it's falling apart, we don't want it to fall apart. So.
Absolutely, and it's something that we have been working on and know about, and you know, it's an expensive thing, and so part of it is are we going to build it the way? Well, we'll definitely not build it the way it was, but it is an opportunity to upgrade it and maybe include other things. It's also an opportunity to maybe move it elsewhere that's on less crucial property that's you know, that might be less valuable for us to develop for other things, since where it is right now is basically right on the river. And now that everything's developing, maybe there's a better place for it towards the south end of the building, maybe nestled in where the Shark exhibit is. So there's a lot of things we should take into consideration, but I agree 100%. And you know, and I think everybody does it. It's getting close to that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember visiting, and we talked about that at that point in time too. So
yeah, it was one of those things that at the time we were in a hurry and the money was tight, and we threw up what we could, you know. So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Understandable. I'm just kind of curious as to what we can do and maybe take it, you know, stages at a time, but let's get some figures on there. I mean, I don't want our fish to die.
No, absolutely not.
I wanted to bring up something. I've spent a lot of time talking to PSO in the last few days, and one of the things that was mentioned is that the quarantine building that is the old building that he's talking about is on a separate feed to the aquarium. Most of the aquarium is fed from the south. And one thing that PSO has been talking about is trying to get the feed from the north interconnected with the feed from the south, so that if power goes out on one of those legs, then there could be a transfer switch that would switch over power to the other direction. So that's a very viable solution rather than having to get bigger generators in place. If PSO can be coerced into getting that transfer switch provided and be able to get 2 feeds to the aquarium, would be a whole lot better for everything.
That's great. Does anybody have any more questions on the weather and the storm that we're about to go through pertaining the aquarium? Okay, well,
but thank you again for all your work on that. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. I'm going to move on to just quickly talk about the new exhibit with the clownfish and the jellyfish. It's going really well. It's pretty straightforward right now. We're building the decks behind the tanks and starting on the filtration. Really not a whole lot more going on than that. That's kind of what we need to get done. It's a lot of work. It doesn't sound like much, but there's a lot of filtration that goes with that. And but we're on track, you know, for somewhere around June is what we're kind of, you know, that's our target right now. And we've been getting anemones, stockpiling anemones for the clownfish tank. And they're in the new wet lab, and they're doing really well. They look really pretty, and so we're excited about that. We really are. So that's gonna be great. And then also we're still looking into the miniature golf, the possibilities of that project. We have we've identified 3 companies to that we're talking with. You know, they're large companies. We've done a little bit of research on them, and they're pretty well known. Right now, all 3 of them are going to be are in the process of submitting some concepts and kind of concepts with a budget, with cost associated with those concepts. And so we're just now getting into it. We got Greg Helms, the architect. He's the one heading that up and discussing it with the companies. And so some companies are stronger in some areas than others, whether it's theming. But that's kind of what we're doing right now. We really want to figure out what it's going to cost for and what it's going to look like. And that's kind of where we're at right now with that. Also, Andrea, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Andrea has some updates as well. She's got a lot more interesting updates, I think. So go ahead, Andrea.
Hi, Andrea.
Hi. So we were really excited to meet this month because we had been experiencing a terrific February with our attendance and our revenue. So this weather has kind of thrown us off course a bit, but we do have several great updates that we did want to provide, including a few things that have taken place in recent weeks since we met, which includes our education team working with the Tulsa Symphony Orchestra. We did a virtual symphony by the sea. We typically have it at the aquarium and welcome about 1,000 students each year. This is our year to do it, and we have about 2,000 students who have registered already, and we expect many more leading up to when we release the recording at the end of March. I saw the first take of the recording today, and it's really terrific and really showcases our exhibits and our education staff. We also have our education staff who hosted our first marine biologist for the day camp for adults in January. That went extremely well. We have a lot of excited adults who are interested in learning more about our marine life and biology in general. And we also offered, in conjunction with our event staff, Valentine's Day weekend tours. On Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we offered 6, and all of them were sold out. And despite the weather, we actually had most of the attendees come and do the tours, and we received a lot of great responses in person and also on Ask Nicely about their tour. And we also offered for the first time last week, in order to build excitement around our animal encounters that we launched a few months ago, a 2-for-1, buy one for yourself and then get one for your loved one. And we actually sold over 100 and made a little over $2,000 in just a few days. So we're really pleased with that special. That was spearheaded by our education and our marketing team together. We also have, with our event staff, we're nearing our goal. We were nearing 80% of our event revenue goal. And with the weather, we keep having events move around to the following quarter. But we're really proud of it because this goal was set pre-pandemic. And so we've seen several private events. We actually are hosting more private events than any other Tulsa attraction right now. So we're quite proud of that. And we're also hosting with our event staff, our public event for March will be a virtual trivia night, and it's all about our Marvels and Mysteries Gallery. It's really fun because we have different scenes that set for it, and it'll be related to pop culture, science, some fun topics like that. And that will be March 18th, and we just announced that. And we're going to be hosting a run through with our biology staff next week. So we're excited to do that. On top of that, we also had Ann, John, and Kenny meet with our Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation friends. They're also on site with us, but they met with the executive director about potentially sponsoring our Aquatic Oklahoma remodel. And so those guys together, and Ann is also spearheading some more sponsorship opportunities, and we've been applying to more grants recently. So we're hoping to see some more donations and sponsorships come through this half of the year and going forward too. And we've also, we're going to see the Tulsa World publish an article about one of our biologists, Mackenzie Matthews. It was supposed to come out Friday, but with the weather that was pushed back. They did a really nice long feature about her that will come out soon, and about her work in the marine biology fish department. And we also had the Fox News station reach out to us about doing a story, and this also had to push back because of the weather, about our growth on TikTok. And it was exciting because we surpassed Monterey Bay Aquarium with number of followers on TikTok, which is really exciting because they're one of the most premier in the country. And it was also exciting today because Alyssa Rodriguez, who really manages our TikTok account, she was talking back and forth with the Aquarium Pacific, which is another premier account and partner in the industry. So we're really proud of that and just forging these relationships. And so we look forward to another month ahead of more events and just more private events in general, and seeking more donations. And we also continue to have the aquarium run that through April 3rd. We have quite a few registrants, but if you know of anyone who's interested in participating, it's really easy. You just sign up online, and all you do is at the end of the month come and pick up your medal and t-shirt. It's really cool with our clownfish theme, and that's about it. Does anyone have any questions?
Well, I just wanted to, you mentioned the TikTok, the video that was posted today on Facebook. I'm not a TikToker, but I was glad that it was posted on Facebook because that was so funny. So I hope that they continue to post TikTok content on Facebook for those of us who are over the age of 25 to enjoy as well. That was really good.
Excellent. Well, we're glad to hear that, and we'll definitely do that going forward. They are very, very funny, and even though you might not be on TikTok, I think we all really enjoy being entertained by it.
Yeah. Well, keep up the good work. Any questions for any questions?
Nope.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
All right.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you very much, Andrea.
All right.
Hey, Kenny, if I could go back for a second. I noticed in your report on the 16th, that came out with the packet, that a company, High Power, came out and checked all the generators. And then if we had a failure, is there a warranty on their checking those or anything?
I'd have to check with Joel, but I don't believe that generator. Well, it was a circumstance that I don't believe is a true failure.
And I just know, like with the city hall generator, PD, fire, we have these serviced every year, and it's kind of like it's kind of like servicing a car in a way. You got to, do whatever you do. I mean, these have fuel and everything, and it's basically like a service check, and it's kind of like just servicing the generator as opposed to guaranteeing that anything will actually work. I mean, that's my understanding of what we do.
Right.
On a regular basis with the rest of the city generators, if someone comes out and services it, but it's not like they're providing any guarantee that it's gonna, that everything's gonna trip on the way it should.
Right.
It's more of like the mechanical, is everything mechanically sound?
Now, if they were to repair something, of course, and then that repair failed, then sure, that would be a different situation. Again, I believe this generator, this particular system, operated within what it is capable to do. It was just, if it was a simple power outage, like a blackout, it most likely would have come on. It was that we lost a leg, which causes a brownout, and that's what, for lack of a better term, fools the generator. So it wasn't a huge problem. We manually shut the power down to the building, and then the generator said, "Oh wow, we don't have power. I better turn on." Okay. So that's kind of how that.
Okay. Other thing is, I guess, and I don't know, maybe I'm a little early. One of your emails not too long ago talked about the gift shop contract. Have you done anything on that, or is that still kind of being discussed, or where are you at on that?
We were going to touch on that.
Okay. So, I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead.
So we can talk about that. So back when COVID first, made its way to America, and then, we realized this was going to be a problem. I believe it was March 16th that the decision was made to close the aquarium, and it didn't reopen, I believe, until early May. And so I'd say in June, we had communication from the gift shop, and they were wondering, they were asking all of their gift shops that they managed across the country to they asked if we could be somewhat patient with their May and June payments. And, I think at the time we all thought, well, gosh, this is pretty unprecedented circumstances here. We forced them to close in a way for a month and a half. So we'll be lenient, and they can catch up. But it was really about, it wasn't like you don't have to pay us anymore. It was kind of like, we have a deadline for payment, and you can be, a little bit late. And the problem is that then they became significantly late on basically everything from July and August of 20. And so Robert Sauceda contacted Wildlife Trading in December and was kind of like, we said that we'd be patient here, but we're looking at a 6-month delay in payment, and for months that you didn't ask for and we didn't anticipate. So we need, you need to pay us the money due. You've obviously been operating the gift shop, collecting the revenue that would be due us. And so they said at the time they were going to make a payment. I guess that might've been the 18th of December. And they said they would pay July, and then every single week they'd make a payment for each month, July, August, September, October, November, and then pay for December. And so they made the payment for July 2020 on December 18th. They made the payment for August 2020 on December 21st, and then nothing. And so they continue to send us the statement that shows what would be due. And so while all this is going on, they've been in discussions, I guess, literally probably for 6 months about selling their business to a third party that basically is a similar business that operates gift shops in aquarium, zoos, and attractions throughout the country. And they were originally hoping to close, I think, in December or January. They didn't communicate anything to us at that time about this potential sale. And then I believe it was at the end of January, Kenny received a phone call from the owner of Wildlife Trading, basically just saying, hey, can you please assign the lease to this third party? We're looking to sell. And it's kind of like, well, you owe us $50,000 in rent. And on February 2nd, Robert Sauceda sent an email to the controller of Wildlife Trading asking, like, hey, you said you were going to pay us the money due, and you haven't done so. And she didn't respond. And so I think that's when we collectively talked about it, and we thought about just terminating the lease, or recommending terminating the lease. And Kenny and I talked about it more and decided, let's give this one more shot talking to the owner. And when we talked to him, we indicated, they've had literally months to vet this new group who might be operating, who they want to operate our gift shop. And, we obviously need more than a week's time to sign off on a potential new manager of the gift shop, or new company managing the gift shop. And in addition to that, you haven't paid us the rent and you're not communicating with us. And, maybe we don't want the third party. Is there a possibility that we could do it ourselves? I mean, the revenue we receive from the gift shop is less than the revenue we receive selling shavings of potatoes and carrots and shrimp to animals. I mean, it's like, $160,000, $170,000, $180,000 a year. The overall revenue for the aquarium in the last 5 years has gone up something like 25%. The annual revenue we receive from the profit sharing of the gift shop is basically flat. So we had this conversation last week with the owner, and basically kind of laid this out for him, but said, what can we do here? And you owe us the money. And so we did receive a check for $42,000 after that conversation. So we're still owed $8,000. And he's looking into what he thinks the options are for us to basically take over our own lease and just operate it ourselves. And he also wanted to set up another meeting with the third party and the aquarium to talk about, what we could expect from this new operator if we so chose, if the JAA so chose to assign that lease. But basically, I think we were prepared for the worst, thinking they've said they're going to do something and they're not doing it, and they're not responding to us, and they're trying to sell their company, and they're trying to get us to assign the lease with like a week's notice before closing. They're hoping to close on Thursday. And we just wanted to, I think the letter that Kenny sent out, or the email that Kenny sent out, is kind of like saying, we wanted to be prepared to have this conversation about terminating the lease if our conversation didn't go well with the owner. But I think it did go well. But obviously, in my opinion, they still owe us money, and there's still a lot to figure out about how we move forward on this lease, because they said to us, they're keeping one or two gift shops, but the rest they're selling, their leases basically to this new company, and they're not going to have the capabilities to really do much to improve the gift shop moving forward, so we don't necessarily want them operating it. We don't know about the third party. And I think we really think, we'd like to explore the possibility of the aquarium running its own gift shop. But that's kind of where we are. So there's no resolution and we have no recommendation at this moment, but does that make sense? I know that was kind of a rambling.
Oh yeah, very much so. I think so. And I appreciate you explaining it all. And, there's always that in the back of your mind is why the aquarium's not running it themselves. But granted, they're in the business of taking care of fish and the animals, and it's kind of hard to take off on a different venue or vendor. But if this company is not doing anything for us or helping us out, then by all means, if we can explore it and see, that we can always leave that option open to maybe go to this third party at some point. I don't know. Kenny knows more about that, or his staff would, than we would, or I do. I don't know. Keith, you have any input on that?
Well, you can try to run it yourself. I think it'd be interesting to know who the other potential buyer is. Do they have any advantages for us? You've got to know what your options are. And it seems like right now we just know this is going on, but have we even been introduced to who this party is, Chris?
Kenny's had a phone call with them. But beyond that,
yeah, we have. I've talked to the management of the new company, and they've sent information on their company, and they have accounts with a lot of aquariums across the U.S. We're not necessarily not pleased with the new company. It's more about really just exploring our options, and what is required for us to be able to run it ourselves as far as the contract's concerned. If somebody was just to hand us the keys and say, okay, you're off scot-free, can you run a gift shop? The answer is yes. Can you make money? The answer is yes. Do I know enough about it? No, but I know we can. There's profit to be made. There just is. And I don't have any concern with that. I wouldn't go into it blindly, but there's more to it than that, as far as the contract, and is there any payoff? That's a whole different thing. And if there's a payoff, and if it's significant and we can't get out of it, the profit, how long would it take for us to run it, for us just to break even? And is it worth that effort? Yeah. And so that's kind of where we're at. It's not that this new company is not a good company, per se. It's, like Chris said, we haven't had time to process it. They've had months. We just got hit over the head with a bag of potatoes, and now we're in a snowstorm. So, it's hard to be crude, but I mean, rough around the edges.
Well, basically, stay tuned.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say now everyone is aware. It seemed like we only had a week to try to figure out how to pump the brakes on this. We did pump the brakes, and now we have some time to explore these options, and we will definitely keep the JAA apprised of how this, what steps we're taking, and ultimately everything will be a recommendation from staff to the JAA to make a decision. But I have more questions than I have time to even list them before the council meeting for all these different options. So that's kind of where we are, and we will definitely be providing much more information when we are provided much more information from Wildlife Trading, the third party, and then what our options are. And then don't even get Robert Sauceda started on what it, in terms of inventory control and everything else, if we actually thought we wanted to run the gift shop. So we do know there's a lot of information we need before we recommend anything to the JAA. I did want to.
Have they given you any time schedule when they'll provide additional information to you?
Well, because we said that we weren't going to recommend that this body approve assigning the lease today, they're hoping to close on Thursday. So they took the Oklahoma aquarium out of that closing. They still hope to sell our lease, the lease they have with us, to this third party, but it's just not going to be a part of the sale of all these other leases. And so they said that they would hope to have information to us in the next week or two, but right now, I don't think we certainly don't feel the pressure that we need to make a decision. It's more on, I think the Wildlife Trading needs the money. And maybe I shouldn't say Wildlife Trading wants to make the sale of the lease. So,
and have they told you when they're going to pay you the other $8,000?
They have not communicated that.
Okay.
But
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Well, the ball is in the wildlife's court. Then it's up to them to get us information. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, to a certain extent, and our money. Yeah, we need to get our money. And I know we're running out of time, but I'd be happy to talk with anyone that wants to discuss this further. And Kenny and I can provide our thoughts. But if we could end on a great note here, you know, we get daily reports of revenue quarter to date, and you know, it's been kind of depressing every night looking at the revenue numbers through COVID. You know, May through basically December of 2020. But you know, we noticed in January of 2021. I mean, it was just like, wow, the weekends we were really doing really well, and we're really doing well during the week. And our total revenue for January 2021 exceeded January 2020 by about 30%. And our revenue for January 2021 exceeded our revenue for January 2016, 75%. So I think that, you know, there is a light at the end of the tunnel here. And I think with the vaccine, you know, January is usually not an exciting month revenue wise, but I really do think that people are wanting to get out. I think the aquarium's done an amazing job providing a safe environment for people to get out of their house and bring their kids and family and have a good time. And I think that shows in the January revenue numbers and the attendance numbers. And I think that, you know, once I'm really, really, really optimistic, you know, the last week aside, about this year for the aquarium. I think Kenny and his team have done an amazing job, and I think that we're really going to start to see some of the fruits of all their hard work. You know, building trust with the public the last 10 months. And so again, I mean, just to think about, you know, we were on track to have our best year ever last year, and we blew last year's January out of the water. And to think that, you know, we're in the middle of a pandemic, but we could still have, you know, a 75% increase in overall revenue since 2016 is pretty amazing. So good job, Kenny and team.
Same to you. Same to all of us.
Well,
Okay,
thank you.
well, you guys need to get to a council meeting, so I'd move for adjournment.
Second.
All right, let's vote.
OJ,
Yes.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Kaylin,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.